Okay, the next step is to make a selection out of the silhouette of the figure. So with this one, it's clean line art, so it's actually very easy. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm just going to go to the line art layer. And I'm going to use a magic wand. I'm going to select outside of the character. And I'm making sure this contiguous box is checked because, as you see, without it, it'll just select everything that's white. But with contiguous checked on, it'll just select around the line. And then I just want to zoom in and find areas like this to add. And to add to the selection, it's the same as with the lasso. You hold down Shift. And to subtract, you hold down Alt. So Shift, holding down Shift lets you add to it, and Alt subtracts. Just want to get inside all those little areas, and there. So now I have a selection of everything that's not the character. So if I was to fill this right now, it would, and let me just deselect this preserve transparency. If I filled it, it would be selecting outside of the character. So we want the opposite. So to do that, you select Shift Control I, and that selects the inverse. But now if I filled it, first of all, I don't want to fill it on the same line art layer. I want to fill it on a new layer underneath the line art. But if I filled it, you'll notice that it goes a little bit over that line. See if I zoom way in. And we don't want that. So instead of filling it right away, what I'm going to do is go up here to select, modify, contract. I'm going to contract it by, let's say, 2 pixels. And then I can fill it. And it really doesn't matter what color you pick to fill. But see, now it's sort of within the lines. So that's what I want. And now for this character, because the lines aren't clean, and see how there's this like space with his neck, I can't just use the magic wand and fill. So here I'm going to be using the lasso. Now the trick with the lasso that makes it so fast is to make use of Shift and Alt. And instead of carefully going around and following the line perfectly, what I do is make smaller selections and then just hold Shift to add to those selections, or Alt. So see, I'm just sort of making selections and refining my selection. And then once you get good at this, it's what lets you become fast. And this is why this is preferable for me than the polygonal. There's a trick, which is if you, let's say I'm going to add to this selection. If I add to it and then I hold down Alt, it'll switch it from the regular lasso to the polygonal lasso. And it's the same thing if I was on the polygonal lasso. And you can add to the selection either way with holding down Shift. See, now I could be a lot more precise, really get the shape accurate, and then I could hold down Alt and switch to the regular lasso. And with the polygonal lasso, basically what you're doing is you are making a path, but you want to connect it back to the beginning. And when you bring it back to your starting point, you'll see a little circle appear beside the lasso that lets you know that you've gone back to the starting point. And once you click that point, that's what will make the selection. So I'm going to switch it back to the regular lasso tool. And let's say because there's many different ways of doing this, let's say I actually made a selection that's too big. See, I don't want this area, so then I could just hold down Alt to get it to the minus tool and then cut out that area. So it's really like sculpting. You could add or subtract. See how I missed some areas? Well, I can just add to those. And that's really easy. And this is really the beauty of the lasso tool and using this. And I find this is faster, for me anyway, than using the pen tool. or other tools that get you selections. So now we have this, and I'm going to make a new layer underneath the line art, and I'm going to fill it using the paint bucket tool. Now the shortcut for the paint bucket tool is G. So L is lasso and G is paint bucket. I sort of switch between those often when I'm coloring, and then I can just click to fill. And if I wanted to change this color to any other color, I can just take the paint bucket, change the color, just click and fill again.